Here's what frustrates me. Washington, D.C. is full of secrets.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is angry and sad. She's been snubbed by Trump for a cabinet position. She doesn't want to share a bathroom with her trans colleague. And Greene's friend Matt Gaetz has been derailed by his own sexual misconduct,
including that he had sex with a minor.
So Greene is now threatening lawmakers in her own party.
And if they're going to roll out reports on Matt Gaetz, basically threatening him and forcing him out, then they need to release all the other secrets on everybody else. And that's what I'm having a hard time with today. I believe in truth and transparency, and I believe the American people deserve more. You know, there's these sexual harassment lawsuits that claims that were settled using taxpayer-funded dollars in these cases against lawmakers. And this has been known about for years, and that list is never been publicized.
Wait a second. Republican lawmakers engaged in sexual harassment and used taxpayer dollars to make the claims disappear? And there's a list of these Republican lawmakers and payouts? Marge, you have to do something.
I think lists like that should come out if we're going to be picking out single reports on certain people. But I know Matt Gaetz very well, and I've watched him fight for years and fought alongside him in Congress. And I know that whatever Matt Gaetz goes on to do, he's going to do a great job at it.
Well, Gaetz has certainly proven he is great at not getting indicted after allegedly trafficking underage women for sex and then obstructing the investigation. Getting out of criminal exposure does take certain skills. Anyway, back to Marjorie Taylor Greene. While it's admirable that MTG has now publicly revealed there are lists of Republicans who use taxpayer money to settle sexual misconduct claims, Greene herself has now possibly opened herself up to some questions. Because under the law, if you know about sexual harassment and misconduct and you help to cover it up, you are technically aiding and abetting criminal behavior. In other words, Marjorie Taylor Greene and others who know about the sexual harassment may have a legal obligation, never mind the moral obligation, to tell all. The flip side of this is that old saying, snitches get stitches. In other words, Greene could be playing with her own personal safety or status in the House Republican Conference if she goes public. But I have a feeling, Marge, there are a lot of Democrats who would gladly volunteer to serve on your personal security detail if you help publish the Republican lists. And with your safety protected, what have you got to lose? Donald Trump has rejected you for his cabinet, and you are already something of a pariah in your own party. Well, as Marjorie Taylor Greene ponders whether to go nuclear at her own GOP colleagues, she is clearly in a sour mood. She keeps lashing out at newly elected Democratic lawmakers, including one who is openly transgender.
McBride, as he calls himself, formerly Tim McBride, is a biological man, and he should not be using any of our restrooms in the Capitals, in our office buildings. But Nancy Mace's resolution doesn't go far enough. A resolution is just a statement by Congress saying that Congress disagrees with something. We need something more binding, and that's what I just brought up at the microphones there in our conference, is I directly asked Speaker Johnson what the men in our leadership are going to do about this, because this has to be stopped.
MTG has reportedly told associates that she is afraid that the trans lawmaker or any trans person might try to grab or seduce Greene in a bathroom. Marge, I guarantee there is no Democrat of any sexual persuasion who seeks carnal relations with you. But if you want to flatter yourself, all of the women's bathrooms reportedly have individual stalls with walls. And even if those walls don't go all the way to the floor, even former Republican Senator Larry Craig, despite his admitted wide stance, seemed to have difficulty with the reach. For you younger folks, Google Larry Craig wide stance. Anyway, back to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Greene's anger and short fuse these days are also prompting her to lash out at infectious disease expert and former Government Institute director Anthony Fauci.
I believe Dr. Anthony Fauci is guilty of crimes against humanity and maybe some other things. I think that's something that the next Attorney General definitely should pursue, and many Americans would support that. But there's also been outrageous waste in the COVID spending throughout the entire government, all types of agencies and grant programs. These are the type of things that I'll be able to do on the subcommittee.
The subcommittee she's referring to is the newly created House panel that Greene will lead that will work with the newly created Department of Government Efficiency. House Oversight Chair James Comer gave Greene this assignment as a sort of consolation prize, since Greene will not be serving in the Trump administration. It's also possible that Comer wants Greene to stay busy so she stays off of his back. In any case, Greene says she will be working closely with billionaires Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to identify and eliminate government waste. Now, many of us do not like the policies and views of Musk and Ramaswamy, but it is undeniable that they are bright people. As for Marjorie Taylor Greene, well, this is like that old Sesame Street game. Greene, Musk, and Ramaswamy. Which one of these is not like the other? Democrats are piling on, by the way. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez wrote on X, "This is good. Actually, she barely shows up and doesn't do the reading. To borrow a phrase I saw elsewhere, it's like giving someone an unplugged controller." And as for Musk and Ramaswamy, AOC wrote, "Absolutely dying at those two now getting assigned the privilege of working with MTG. That is actually hilarious. Enjoy, fellas. Very prestigious post you have there." Maryland's Jamie Raskin, the ranking Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, issued this statement. "It's hard to keep track of all the new departments and bureaucracies the Republicans are setting up to study the size and efficiency of government. But isn't that what Chairman Comer and the Committee on Oversight and Accountability actually said they were doing over the last 2 years? Where's their report and recommendations? Perhaps the impeachment flop derailed them a bit." So now a noted student of American government, Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, will chair a subcommittee to work with two unvetted billionaires who stand to receive billions more in government contracts and subsidies from the government under Trump. That's why Democrats will stay focused on waste, fraud, and abuse and corruption. The government belongs to the people, not the billionaire oligarchs. The needling of Marjorie Taylor Greene will undoubtedly get under her skin. After all, Greene is particularly sensitive and frustrated these days, especially at her fellow Republicans. Hopefully, it means Greene will soon release the list of Republican lawmakers who engaged in sexual misconduct and used taxpayer dollars to cover it up. The alleged criminal behavior and the hush money payments would certainly qualify as fraud and abuse. And that's your mandate, Marjorie. Go get 'em. Blow the whistle on everybody. On this, all Americans will have your back, even if on nearly everything else, you keep making the case that you are a right-wing lunatic. By the way, investors and analysts have already started to panic over Donald Trump's plans for the economy.
He has promised, if you add it all up, more than $10 trillion in tax cuts relative to the current trajectory. He has called into question by politicizing the credibility of the Fed. He said that the dollar needs to go down, not up, raising the price of every imported good. And much more importantly, on the supply side, he's called for pushing up all kinds of prices by putting an across-the-board tariff on, which will raise the price not just of imported goods, but of American goods that use imported goods as an input.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from a girl who wrote, "He bankrupted everything else. Why not the country?" I hear you. I look forward to reading your comments about a very sad and angry Marjorie Taylor Greene threatening to tell all about Republican lawmakers' sexual misconduct. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.